Thank you for joining us. We have a lot of people on the call, as you can see. So we're going to jump right into it. I want to thank Cindy Parlow Cohn, president of US Soccer, for joining, Midge Purce for the US Women's National Team, Becca Roux, who is the head of the Women's National Team PA, and Walker Zimmerman, US Men's National Team. They're all available for questions. And some of you have already started to raise your hand function on the bottom of the screen. So we are going to start. I think, is Bo Durr on? We're going to start with Bo, but if he's not on, why don't we jump to Jonathan Tannenwald? Jonathan, I think you have to unmute your line.
There. No, I was muted. Sorry, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Thank you, Neil. Congratulations, everybody. One each for Walker and for Cindy. The first one for Walker, because I think it might be shorter. The men's union hasn't had an active on CBA in 3.5 years. How good does it feel to finally have one? And then to Cindy, even as Walker said in the press release that went out, there were a lot of people who believed that this wasn't possible, or at least it would take a lot longer than it did. There were also a lot of people who you know and a lot of us know who said that if anybody could do it, you would be the one to do it. And I wonder what it means to you personally to have done it.
Yeah, Walker, you want to start?
Sure, yeah. I think we're all very excited, very proud, and we've used the terms proud and rewarding over and over again, but those really are the best adjectives to describe how we are feeling, to come alongside the U.S. Women's National Team and U.S. Soccer to get this deal done. Certainly the length of time, 3.5 years without a CBA, was a little stressful, a little trying at times, but with any CBA negotiation, there's going to be some hard things to get through. And so just really proud that we did it and we got to this point and couldn't be more excited.
Yeah, and Jonathan, I wanted to lead on this, and US Soccer wanted to lead on this, and I am just so incredibly proud of what we've achieved. I've been in this equal pay fight for over 20 years, first as a player and now at US Soccer. And really, I want to give a lot of credit to both the men and the women's teams and their PAs. This wouldn't have been possible if we weren't able to get all three people at the table, three groups at the table, the women's PA, the men's PA, and US Soccer. And this is just a really historic moment that will hopefully lead to meaningful changes and progress, not only here at home in the US, but around the world. And I think this will not only impact soccer, but it'll impact sport in general, as well as society. So yeah, I'm really proud of what we've achieved together.
Okay. We will move on to our next question. We're going to go back to Bo. Bo, your line should be able to be unmuted.
Thank you so much. I'm due back in a classroom of 6th graders in about 8 minutes. So quick questions looking ahead, first for Cindy and then for Walker or Midge or Becca. Question for Cindy is, how will this deal affect the bottom line? Does this, you projected an 8-figure loss moving forward. Will this change that, or was that already kind of budgeted for? For the players reps, during the last election, there was, people actually recruited in Carlos Cordero of all people and almost voted him in because they saw a gap between the elites and the grassroots. Now that this is done, do you feel like there's some bridge building you can do there?
Yeah, thanks, Bo. I think this is critically important. For the bottom line of US Soccer, yes, we had some modeling that we had done, but it's not just the bottom line, it's the overall picture of it. And especially with the revenue share, and the commercial and sponsorship opportunities made possible by labor peace, and not only peace, but real collaboration among all the parties will help US soccer become even more competitive on the world stage. And that will allow us to continue to reinvest money back into the growth of our game across the entire soccer ecosystem. So yes, this is a lot of money, but I think it also is a real positive and will help us grow the pie so that there's more for everyone. And to your second point, yes, I very much have been working to bridge that gap. I spend my life in the youth game. I coach in the youth game, a director of the youth game, and I totally respect you for going back to your middle school classroom. I got my degree in middle school education, so I know what you're going into there. But I just think this is a critically important moment for our game and really will help set the future for what we're trying to work towards and increasing access to our game, investing more heavily in the grassroots. And I know this is important to both player associations and all the players on our men's and women's team as well.
Thanks, Cindy. Do either any of the player reps want to tackle the bridging the gap now that this is done? No. Okay, thanks very much.
All right, thanks, Bo. We're gonna jump to Dana Jacobson, and then after Dana, because John Lupo is in a tight situation, he will be next. Dana, you should go ahead.
Thank you, I appreciate it. I think the first one really for Walker, you touched on this before, but to have this happen, essentially the women have the ability now to make more and the men potentially make less. So why agree to that?
Well, I think, you know, when we got together as a group with the Men's Players Association, certainly we saw that there was not going to be a way forward to a deal without equalization of World Cup prize money. And we looked at the numbers between the previous CBA, the CBA that we've agreed to now, and recognized that, you know, sure, there was a potential chance of making less money, no doubt about it. But we also believe so much in the women's team. We believe in the whole premise of equal pay. And ultimately, that was a big driving force for us, was to do something historic, do something that no other team had done before, and to really try and do this together. And so I've said it before, difficult conversations, a lot of listening, a lot of learning, and ultimately we came to this historic CBA, and we're really proud of it. And we mentioned before as well, we'll be each other's biggest cheerleaders for sure. I can't wait to watch the women 2023 in the World Cup, and I know that they'll be cheering us on in 2022 in Qatar.
And Cindy and Midge, I mean, Cindy, you mentioned this. This has been an ongoing fight for you for a long time. And I think women out there, forget whether they play sports or not, women look at this and are still battling this. So Cindy and Midge, what was different now where the women were able to get this done in US soccer?
Midge, do you want to start? Did we lose Midge?
I was going to say, since you were already unmuted, go ahead. What's different is I think that over time, this isn't a one-hit wonder. Women are in leadership. You know, over time, we have progressed in the globally, like our positions in the world, that has made this a lot easier to come by. I mean, our president is Cindy Cohn. I think that there are a lot of factors that contributed to us being able to get this done. And I think just the continued fight that has been going on since before I was even a part of it has all added up to the end.
Yeah, I'll just add on to that. I think there were a lot of factors. I think what Midge said is correct, but also the men were out of contract and the women were up for renewal. So it was and since we hadn't finished the renewal with the men, it was an opportunity to put them on the same timeline of renegotiations, which had never happened in the past. So it was really our one opportunity that we've had to bring them together in one room to negotiate this. I think the other factors were we're just the moment that we're in, and the guys on this team really stepping forward and championing this, because this advancement doesn't happen without the men championing this. And so I just felt like that was really important, and I don't want that to be understated, because they were true champions of this and worked through this, because it's not easy to give up the money that they're giving up, but to know that it's the right thing to do and then to step up and do it, I think they should be applauded.
Can I just real quickly ask, it's such a stupid question, how happy are you today?
I am so proud. I have been in this for over 20 years, fighting for equal pay. And, the 99ers team has a text stream, and just the messages coming in from my teammates who started this fight, who I learned from. And it's just such a proud moment to actually be a leader in this, to be the first to do it, and to work together with my staff at US Soccer, everyone on the women's side and everyone on the men's side, to really come together to do this historic agreement.
Thank you. Sorry I hogged so much time.
Okay.
No worries. We'll jump to John, and then after John, we'll do Sean Gregory from Time Magazine, and then Henry Bushnell. John, go ahead.
Thank you. Two questions quickly for Cindy. Just talk about the other benefits besides equal pay, the insurance, family leave, safe work environment, disability pay. Talk about how important that is. And for Margaret and Cindy and Becca, just for you mentioned, Cindy, the 99ers, all the players that didn't enjoy these benefits, but now that you've had this now that you have equal pay and all of these benefits, just talk about that being sort of a tribute for how they built U.S. women's soccer up to where it is and how they paved the way for you guys. Thank you and congratulations.
Thanks. You were breaking up quite a bit, but I think I got the gist of the question. Yeah, so in the contract, as I think you all know, identical financial terms, identical game payments, equalization of World Cup prize money through pooling, and then identical commercial revenue sharing agreements. And then on top of that, the women's team has health benefits, childcare for both the men and the women. I'm going to leave some things out. I have my notes right here. I could read them. Neil, help me out. I'm missing something, I know.
Cindy, I can jump in.
Thanks, Becca. You can jump in. All the differences.
Yeah, I think Cindy and her teammates have long fought for benefits. And I think this is both been something that women have had to do throughout time. So we couldn't always just focus on compensation. We also had to negotiate for other things. And this time we were able to negotiate for equal pay and also negotiate for some of those extra benefits, some of which are now also going to be available to the men, including 401k and childcare. So Walker, I believe you're a father. So if you would like to bring in your child into camp, you have that opportunity now. But there was also a recognition that the women, because the club environment is still developing within the women's football world, that there are still things that US Soccer provides to our women's national team players, and in turn also require additional work from the women. And so as the women are doing unique or additional work, they're also receiving unique and additional benefits that include short-term injury protection or short-term injury disability, if you will. And when I do not believe you have to do any extra work to receive parental leave. There is a universe of players that will also be receiving parental leave, and it is parental meaning adoption, or if a partner has a child, or if the woman herself has the child. And then lastly, health insurance, dental insurance, and vision insurance. We are very proud of all of those non-economic things, including the safe work environment, data privacy, et cetera.
That's why I had it written down. I knew I was leaving things out. Thanks, Becca.
Thanks, Becca. All right, we'll go to Sean.
Hey, everybody. Question for Walker. Walker, you mentioned the difficult conversations that you guys had as far as sacrificing the World Cup prize money. Is any conversation stand out that was particularly difficult? What was it like, and how did things, was there ever a moment where it could have went the other way, and how did things kind of maybe turn around to the way we got to today?
Well, I think just in terms of, where we ended up with the final percentages and sharing and everything like that, even between US Soccer and both the PAs, there was always dialogue, constant dialogue. And I think the hardest thing, honestly, was probably the conversations about, okay, if anyone's going to do it, we have to be the group to do it, because it's so much easier in theory when you aren't the ones on the team actually giving up something that you already expected to get. And so there were for sure moments that, you're listening, you're learning, and it's difficult. And ultimately, that's why I think I'm so proud is we came together as a group. We came together with both US Soccer and the women's national team and made it happen. And so, I don't know that there's a specific conversation that I have in mind that was, stands out to me as being the most difficult or anything like that, but certainly it just makes it all the more rewarding to recognize the group of individuals that, came together and did this for the first time in history. So really proud of our group and the way that they did kind of end up sacrificing something that, again, is way easier in theory until you're the group that actually has to make that decision. So really proud of everyone to get it done.
Thanks so much, Walker.
Great. All right, before we get to Henry, after Henry, we will do Howard Migdal and then Donald Wine. Henry, go ahead.
Thanks, Neil, and thanks all you guys for taking the time. Kind of following up on Sean's question, but for Cindy, Becca, and or Midge, whoever wants to take it, when, from a timeline perspective, when did you sense that the men's PA had really come around on this? And did you get a sense for what for them might have been the turning point, just from negotiations?
I mean, I'll start off, for me, the turning point was when we actually got everyone in the same room together. The women's PA, the men's PA, and US Soccer. That was the first time that I really thought that we could do this, because it was really, that in and of itself is historic, right? Just getting everyone together in the same room to start negotiating. And it didn't come together quickly, right? This has been a long time coming. There were a lot of discussions there. It was a little bit of a roller coaster ride. As soon as you think you're getting somewhere, then things feel like they're falling apart, then they come back together. And so it really was a long journey, but a really collaborative effort. And everyone sitting at the table working towards a goal. And everyone has different views on how to achieve that goal, and really working through that. I think was great. And I think it helped set a new tone. Hopefully the players and the players associations feel that that was set a new tone with US Soccer. We have entirely new leadership here at US Soccer, and we really wanted to set a new path and reset the relationship with both of our players and their player associations.
Were there any, just to follow up, were there any specific points when it felt like a roller coaster ride, or when it felt like it was going in the wrong direction?
I'm guessing you've never been a part of CBA negotiations, because that's the whole ride. It's hard. I mean, it's difficult conversations. Everyone has different viewpoints, and trying to reach an agreement where everyone's a little bit uncomfortable and everyone's a little bit happy is a good place. And I think we really landed at a good place.
Great. Howard.
Thanks very much. And congratulations, everyone. Cindy, I have one for you, and Becca, one for you. Cindy, when you think about this in terms of your legacy, I just wonder if you've taken a step back and considered where this ranks, and whether this may end up being at the top of your list in terms of your significant number of accomplishments.
Yeah, I don't think I can claim this as my win, right? There were so many people that have been involved in this fight, in this journey. So many people's shoulders that I'm standing on that have allowed me to get to this point, to even get to this position. So I don't think I can count it as my win. There were so many people from the US soccer side, from the women's PA, past players, current players, men's PA, so I'm incredibly proud of this moment, but it is not my win alone. I think this is a win for all the people that have been involved in this fight over the last 25 years, and especially in soccer, longer if you look at the society fighting for this, but also just the people covering it, right? You guys covering this and staying on top of it and having this landmark moment and having, I don't have the count anymore on my computer, but I think it was around 100 people of media covering this. Like, that is huge. And so, well, I've said it many times, I'm really proud of this, but it's not just my victory, it's everyone's victory.
I appreciate that. And it's actually a useful segue to my question for Becca, which is that it seems as if there have been a lot of victories lately in terms of equal pay, and again, improvements in women's sports have come from collective action. And so I'm hoping you could talk to me about what you think that broader moment means for women's sports and the ways in which we are seeing collective action become such a consistent part of that, whether it's in the WNBA, whether it's the NWSL, or obviously what we have here today.
Sure. We don't get here without collective action. And it was actually Cindy and her teammates around the 1999 World Cup that unionized. And it is delightful for me to watch our sisters in other sports, including the NWSL, achieve gains, and we keep building on each other. And I don't think that is, as Cindy already mentioned, it's not just us in sports and women's sports. There's a societal movement. Currently and recently, it's felt like we're taking a step backwards, but largely over the last 5 years, we have had some instrumental gains and recognition that things have not been okay. And there's been some cultural and societal shifts that I think are also lending it to today. I'll also say it was players outside of the union context filing a lawsuit against their employer. Like, that was a collective action to file what eventually became a class action lawsuit. We would not have been there but for their courage in doing that.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Howard. Before we get to Donald, the next three will be Rachel Krieger, Stephanie Yang, and Nancy Armour. Donald, my favorite AO member of all time. Go ahead.
Thank you, Neil. And congratulations to all of you. I know it's been a long journey to get to this point. So I think a lot of us appreciate the efforts that you all put in. Cindy, this question is probably best for you, although Neil and Becca, you may have answers to this as well. Going down the CBA fact sheet, you have the revenue splitting of a lot of different things related to broadcast, retail, and merchandising. Does this clear the way for, and I know in the past few years it's been very hard for fans to get apparel or jerseys with names of players on the back. Does this deal clear the way for that to resume, or is that another set of conversations that need to be had with both player associations?
Cindy, I'll take that. Donna, we actually took control of our player name, image, likeness for consumer products back in the 2017 World Cup, and have worked pretty hard to try to get official licensed product of player name, image, likeness on the backs of jerseys and other products. And we have come a long way, which means now you can actually find it in various channels where it's officially licensed and players are getting royalties. And we have a lot of work to do. And I think US Soccer, Nike, we're all trying to do work. There's been supply chain issues. We can't use that as an excuse forever. But something I think also is that the retailers are learning that they are not meeting demand. And so while we have had the product in the market, there has been money left on the table. And that's kind of a common tale and theme across women's sports, is people have never really captured and put numbers against what is the full demand that is out there such that we can meet it with the supply. And I think it's not that US Soccer, we had already been working towards that. I think now we will be, as with everything within this deal, we are incentivized to work together even more in partnership. And I think the men, the big gain for them is that they, for the first time, are going to be controlling their name, image, likeness, and they have their own licensing agency that will be working on that together. And so I think we'll all be working together, and hopefully the marketplace will see that. It just continues to take time.
Great. Thank you very much. And congratulations again.
Thanks, Donald. Rachel, you're up.
Thanks, Neil. Congratulations, of course, to everyone involved in the process. Question is for Walker and for Midge. Walker, you had mentioned it a couple times now. You guys are each other's cheerleaders. You know, you've been for a while now, and you're going to continue to be the men. You have the World Cup coming up, and Midge, you and the U.S. Women's National Team, of course, have the CONCACAF Women's Qualifiers coming up. Just what are some, you know, maybe it's just words of encouragement, but what are some practical, like, how are you guys going to be each other's cheerleaders now, I guess more than ever, after the CBA has been reached? Thanks.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think Walker wants me to send him a good luck text before the game, but we've always been strong supporters of the men. I mean, we watch them in camp. We're like cheering for them all the time. So I think making it salient, just knowing that, you know, we're here, we're in it with you as much as we can be, and vice versa is going to be really big. And then who knows what other actual in-person things that can happen to, you know, really push that one nation, one team. But I really do feel it is one nation, one team. And I think that just the sentiment is really strong.
Yeah, I would echo that. I think the collaboration that we've seen, especially throughout these negotiations, has definitely improved and created personal relationships with the men and the women. And I'm hoping that, you know, in the future, as we continue to partner together, continue to fight for things together, that we're just gonna have a lot more interaction. There's gonna be times where maybe we're in camp together, maybe we're having double headers, who knows? But there's more interaction and more relationship that I think is really important to have in a national team and in a federation. So I'm really excited to definitely have gotten to have that opportunity so far this year and continue that moving forward.
Great. Thanks, Rachel. We'll go to Stephanie Yang.
Hi, yeah, Steph Yang from The Athletic. This is a question for Midge, where, you know, as Becca had mentioned, there's a societal movement going on, a groundswell towards unionization and labor rights. And Midge, you mentioned there have been growing cultural and social factors like Cindy Parlow becoming president. Do you feel like this CBA, obviously it's been ongoing for a while, but it's grown in parallel to like the ongoing pro-labor sentiment growing in the United States, and, you know, resisting the framing of this, that maybe this is something the men gave to the women, but more this is the men's and the women's teams as laborers under US soccer uniting for like a common cause?
I think everything that goes on in the United States is pretty interconnected. You know, we are workers, and I do think that life outside of the sports lens still merges with that. So yeah, I think that we came together as laborers. I think that we had negotiations with our employers, and I think we came out at the end of it and everybody was really happy with the deal. So yeah, I think just to some extent, everything is pretty related.
Thank you.
And Steph, you don't have to use all three of my names.
All right, we will move to Nancy Armour.
Thanks for doing this. This is for Cindy and for Midge. It's kind of following up on Steph's question, and Cindy, going back to something you said earlier about the impact that this could have beyond the United States and beyond soccer or beyond sport. And I'm just wondering if you two could have given much thought to how this could impact or how this could change the conversation in terms of how women are viewed in the workplace by their coworkers, their bosses, in terms of reaching gender equity.
Yeah, I'll start off, and anyone that wants to add on can. You know, I don't know that we know the full ramifications of this. I think our hope is that now when others are going through this, they have something to point to. And we can be a resource of how we got here and help them through the process. But, you know, the ramifications in soccer, other sports, in society. I don't think we'll fully know that for 10, 15 years. But I'm excited that we all came together and are the first to do it and are leaders in this. And I know from the men's and women's players in both PAs are willing to share our knowledge and our learnings through this process to try to help others achieve what we have achieved.
I think what we've accomplished is definitely a landmark in progress when it comes to gender equity. I think we set a new standard of value for women in the workforce. And like Cindy said, I don't know when or how or where this will unfold and what it will trigger next exactly, but I do think it will inspire a lot and push a lot of individuals and groups to push further on this.
Okay, we are tight on time, so we have time for one last question, and we're going to give that to Ronald Blum.
Hi, guys. Thanks for doing this. Cindy, and also for the players, you talked about the ramifications beyond this. Should this be taken by FIFA, Johnny, and the governing people on the council as a sign that they need to equalize the prize money from their standpoint for fairness throughout the world?
I can start unless one of you guys want to jump in. Okay. So I've had many conversations with CONCACAF and FIFA, with Gianni, Victor, on this very topic, and they're open to it. And I think we have willing partners there, but things just don't move as fast as we would like them to move. But I think that is the next step, is for other federations around the world to look to see what we have done and start doing it themselves. And then also encouraging the confederations and then as well as FIFA to equalize all prize money. So whether it's a Gold Cup or a World Cup, to equalize the prize money.
Thank you. If the players want to comment on it.
I think Cindy probably has a better pulse on this with the conversations that she's had. But again, I would just echo that we are very excited that we are the first to do it. And hopefully that is a very powerful action for other people to follow. So, who knows when that's going to happen, how long it could take, but we're here and we've done it, and we're excited that we were the first to do it.
Great. Huge thanks to Walker and Midge and Becca and Cindy. Thanks to all the media for being on. If you have any other follow-up questions or anything you need, please don't hesitate to reach out to me. And we will all talk to you soon. Thanks again.
Thanks, everyone.
Everybody.